up and we asked them about it. Because, I mean, this is closest you could get to tropical climate in America. And they won't do anything with it.
Malik, do you know who this person is?
No. But regardless of who it is, I wouldn't care if it's Saddam Hussein or Bin Laden. Nobody deserves to be left here. And the kids pass by here and they're seeing it. I mean, the elderly, this is what frightened a lot of people into leaving. We don't know if he's a victim of vigilantes or what, but that's all we know is that his body has been allowed to remain out here for over 2 weeks.
We're standing right outside the health clinic. Its doors are chained. The building is not seriously damaged. No. Have you reached people there? What authorities have you talked to pick up this body?
We're going to talk to everyone from the Army to the New Orleans police to the state troopers to, I mean, we're going to talk to everybody who we can. I even talked to Oliver Thomas, who was the councilman at large yesterday, about this body. He said he was surprised to see that this body is still there. But it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks that this man been just laying here.
As Malik Rahim was speaking, as if on cue, every level of authority he mentioned drove by.
There's a dead body right here. Who are you with?
We're with Bravo 15.
Which is?
The CAV.
Army?
Army, yes, regular Army.
There's a dead body right here. Can you guys pick it up?
I don't think we can pick it up, but we can call the local authorities to come and pick it up.
This gentleman who lives in the neighborhood said that they have been trying to get... Here, let me ask these guys too. Excuse me. Excuse me? Hi, there's a dead body right here. Can Louisiana State Troopers, can you pick it up?
You need to talk to our public information officer, ma'am.
It's been here for 2 weeks. We filmed it last week, and the gentleman over here said he's been trying to get it picked up for 2 weeks, and Louisiana State Troopers, the police, the Army, no one has responded. We're looking right over at it right there.
You need to talk to our public information officer. You can contact them at the troop.
Your name is?
You need to talk to our public information officer.
Do you know about the body?
You need to talk to our public information officer.
Sir, do you know about the body over there?
Oh, ma'am, you talk with our public information officer.
Do you know what they should do to get this body removed?
I have no idea. I can't tell you. I don't know. There's been several people over here looking at it.
That was Homeland Security that just went by. Sir, what?
There's been several people over here looking at it, but you know, like I said, I haven't seen anybody take it.
Several Army guys?
Army. I've seen police over here looking at it. Seen ambulances looking at it. That's about it.
What's your?
And he is with the Army National Guard, one of the many different levels of law enforcement that drove by really within minutes of us going near that body. It had been there for how long at that point, Malik Rahim?
13 days. 13
days. Mm-hmm. What happened after we left?
Well, after you left, well, I can't say. I would rather talk about what happened after you aired it.
Oh.
Because as soon as you aired it, the body was removed. Not even a day after. You know, I mean, all of a sudden.
How long had you been trying? 2 weeks?
By that time, it had been 2 weeks. But 2 weeks and 1 day after that person's body was dumped at the health clinic, the body was finally removed. And not only his body, but then they started picking up all the dead bodies that was in Algiers. And remember, Algiers was never flooded. So it was no reason for those bodies to lay and fester into the sun like they was. You know.
So you're out of New Orleans, out of Algiers right now. What do you demand? One, investigations into those who died.
Right. And then a complete amnesty for all those that were arrested for looting. The city, again, didn't provide any service. And anyone that the city or any law enforcement officer or any of the vigilantes accused of being a looter was arrested. You know. and many of them are still being held and haven't even been to arraignment. So we're calling for a complete amnesty.
And any word on prisoners at the parish jail who might have drowned?
That's the saddest plight. We have seen young people who was forced to plead guilty and just in order to get out. You know, many of them are still held.
Malik, we're going to break, and then we're going to go to some of the other testimony. Among them, the mother of a young man who was held at the Orleans Parish Prison. Malik Rahim, a well-known community activist in the Algiers section of New Orleans. We'll be back in a minute.
What has happened down here is the wind have changed. Clouds roll in from the north and it start to rain. Rain real hard to rain for a real long time. 6 feet of water in the streets of Evangeline. River rolls all day, the river rolls all night. Some people got lost in the flood. Some people got away alright. River have busted through, led down a Plaquemine. 6 feet of water in the streets of Evangeline. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. President Coolidge come down in a railroad train. A little fat man with a notepad in his hand. President say, little fat man.
Louisiana, New Orleans here, Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We now go to more of the people who spoke at this weekend's People's Tribunal here in New York City. The Saturday program dominated by people talking about Hurricane Katrina. They spoke about the causes, the aftermath, the efforts to rebuild, and the ongoing government negligence. This is John Clark, Professor of Philosophy and Environmental Studies at Loyola University in New Orleans.
I was listening to local radio, and I heard Mayor Nagin on the radio, and he made the statement, quote, direct quote, Hurricane Katrina did not discriminate. That's a very interesting statement. I think it shows a great, we could say it's just a deception, but if he believes it, it shows a great ignorance of how society works. As we know, as Dr. Bullard and others have pointed out in their many decades of work, racism is built into our social system. Class oppression is built into our social system. So when a hurricane hits, it does discriminate. It automatically discriminates. It automatically produces very deep and severe problems for some people, and perhaps moderate, sometimes severe problems for others, but not equal problems. And we see that in New Orleans. One of our leading local news figures, Garland Robinette, perhaps the best known news person in New Orleans, made this statement on the radio. He says, if you're looking for blame, look in the mirror. He's telling everybody in New Orleans, or wherever they're hearing him across the country, to blame themselves. I think he was half right. He was half right because by people's inaction, by allowing the authorities to do what they've been doing for decades and centuries, we all do have blame. But the blame is not equal, because some authorities have been entrusted with the responsibility of taking care of the problems of society and taking care of people's needs. And they have failed abysmally in this responsibility, I would say criminally. So I would ask us to look at what I would call the triple crime of Katrina. First, the ongoing criminal negligence in the lack of preparation for such an event. I have a lot of wonderful quotes, which I'm going to skip, but environmental writers and other commentators have been telling us for decades that this catastrophe was on the way, and that actually we haven't even seen the big catastrophe, what we call the big one. It's still on the way, and we're still not preparing for it. Let me give you a couple of citations on this. It is well known that New Orleans has been on FEMA's top 3 list of disaster sites, and publications ranging from Scientific American to the local newspaper have run major articles on the coming disaster. Funding for flood control in the area has been cut by 44.2%. In addition, it's well known that wetlands have offered protection to the city from tropical storms and hurricanes. You've already heard about the loss of wetlands. We're now losing probably about 30 square miles per year of wetlands. We have lost as much as 40 square miles. Nothing has been done. Negligible efforts have been made to deal with this problem. So far, all the efforts have done is to reduce the amount of loss. But there is no restoration of our coastal wetlands. We still have 30 square miles per year of loss. We're becoming more and more vulnerable every year to events such as Katrina. Corps of Engineers official Lieutenant General Strzok stated before Congress, levees were never intended to protect against Category 4 hurricanes such as Katrina. So the Corps of Engineers, one of the agencies entrusted with the responsibility of protecting us, says that what has been done has not even been intended to protect us from a catastrophe such as Katrina, much less a more severe Category 4 or a Category 5 hurricane. So I think there's much more to say on this subject, but I think we have to conclude that the Bush administration is certainly guilty of the crime of failing to protect us from a predicted disaster and, in fact, cutting back on programs that might, in fact, have helped us meet this very disaster that just befell us. The second area of the crime I won't talk much about because you've seen a very moving film already on the lack of initial response to the disaster. I think if we want to look for an example of racism and discrimination in our society, nothing is more moving and profoundly devastating emotionally, I think, than to see the people in the convention center and elsewhere in New Orleans, the people on top of roofs with signs saying, "Help me, I haven't had food or water for 3 days." People saying, "I'm diabetic, I have a heart condition, I need medicine," and nothing happening at the same time that hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent to fight an unjust war of aggression in Iraq and a war based on deception. I think increasingly the public will begin to see that these priorities are insane and criminal. I worked with grassroots groups that were delivering food to people during the initial weeks, really the third week after the disaster. And as we went to people's houses, they said, "It's great that you bring us food and water. Could we have some ice?" At the same time, truckloads of ice were being driven back and forth across the country. As the daily newspaper pointed out, $385,000 was spent just on mileage to take ice from Alabama to Massachusetts, which is not exactly the way to get to Louisiana. And truck drivers were paid $54 an hour to wait to get instructions. At the same time, grassroots groups like Mama D's group in the 7th Ward, the Soul Patrol, Common Ground in the Algiers neighborhood, people working in the 9th Ward, were working with really